Most people today would think of the Amish people in quaint terms, seeing them as largely a curiosity, perhaps thinking of them as a countercultural religious sect who have refused to embrace modern living, preferring to ride around in horse and sulkies without modern technology. Well, this was largely my view of them as well. So when I travelled to America a few years back with a group of colleagues, I was privileged to visit an Amish community, and I was in for quite a surprise. Yes, there are the paradoxes, like the guy with his horse and sulky at the gas station. I mean, what on earth is he doing? But then I guess everyone needs a little gas for their boat. It was fascinating. I learnt so much. The most important factor of Amish life is submission to the will of God, based primarily on Jesus' words in the Lord's Prayer. Not my will, but thine be done. By giving up individuality and any thought of selfishness, they embrace God's will by serving others and submitting to Him. So community becomes very important. Take their stance on technology, for instance. They prefer to use old methods to work the land because it reinforces their sense of community. You can't bring in the harvest without the help of all your neighbours and friends. As they see it, much of modern technology has led to a breakdown of traditional family and community values. Cars mean people travel further from home to work. They become independent and isolated. Phones interrupt the family home, so they are left outside on the street or left out altogether. They're attempting to maintain the old ways and values and protect themselves from erosion by perceived evil forces that threaten God's will being done. So they dress modestly, work the land, enjoy the simple things of life, work with their hands, go to church in their sulkies, making beautiful crafts and quilts. Interestingly, they trace their roots back to Reformation times in Europe. Around the time that the Waldenses were being chased in the valleys and caves of the Italian Alps, and Luther was nailing his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Church, starting the Protestant Reformation in earnest, and Zwingli was preaching sola scriptura in his church in Zurich. A group of Protestant Christians took an additional stand for biblical truth and insisted on being baptised again as adults. These Christians were known as Anabaptists, those who baptise again. The Armish take their name from an early Swiss Anabaptist, Jacob Amann. The Amish come from an impressive list of martyrs. They were put in sacks and thrown into rivers in Europe, while others were burnt at the stake. There are no Amish left in Europe. The Amish were saved from extinction by William Penn, who granted a haven from religious persecution in the New World in America. I was impressed by the story of one of the Amish people, Dirk Willems, that I read in the Amish Mennonite Museum. In the year 1569, young Dirk was to be apprehended for his faith and belief in Jesus and the true teaching of Scripture. Hotly pursued by his captor, Anabaptist catcher, Dirk ran over a frozen stream to try and escape. And he was lucky he made it across the stream, but his pursuer wasn't so lucky and he fell into the ice. Dirk, seeing he was about to drown, returned and saved his pursuer's life. The Anabaptist catcher wanted to let Dirk go, but his burgomaster, who had caught up, commanded Dirk be seized. He was, and then he was burned at the stake. Such was the times during the dark ages of Europe. So the Amish were glad to escape to the New World, where they were free to live without fear, their simple life of faith, family and community in submission to God.